The French army did indeed encounter the Russians at the Battle of Borodino, which was about 75 miles to the west of Moscow. Um, the Russians lost about 45,000 soldiers, while the French lost about 30,000 soldiers. It was a very costly battle for both sides, but the French more or less prevailed, and uh, and then moved to Moscow after that. Um, this was technically a victory for France, but the result of this invasion was a great disaster for Napoleon and the French. When they got to Moscow, they found that much of it had been burned to the ground the by the inhabitants of the town. Uh, the Tsar had left. He was unable to get a surrender from the Tsar. When they got there, there was no shelter for them, and it was now no longer summer. It takes a long time to get to Moscow. Um, the One of the most difficult things about attacking Russia is that it is so big and that it is so cold. The um, uh, the distance between France and Moscow is about the same as from Lansing, Michigan to San Francisco, California. Okay, so the French had come a very, very long way on foot to get to Moscow, and now it was fall and it was turning into winter, and they had to walk home for all that distance, about 1,500 miles. And Moscow is very far north. It's about 600 miles north of the northern shore of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's almost as far north as Alaska, and it snows there. And there were times when the French army was marching in snow up to their knees. If you've ever tried doing that, it's not very fast. Uh, Beyond that, the Russians had burned their fields so that the French would not have any food to take from them, and so uh, the and it was a very, very hard trip back for the French army. And when they got back, their army that had started with 400,000 soldiers was now depleted to 40,000. They lost 360,000 soldiers in this terrible invasion, and they, uh, they, this was a staggering loss for them. 90% of their soldiers were lost, and this, just as a sidebar, was a mistake that Adolf Hitler made in World War II, and with almost the same results. So it's good to know your history before you go off, especially if you're going off to war.